Welcome back. All right, I'll start off with the hat. So, this is a hat I got after their first run to the Stanley Cup Final in 2018. That was a pretty big year for the channel, and this year's been a pretty big year too. And I think the surprises of this year's playoffs have definitely aided that. But tonight, Florida was not able to pull off another big surprise. Now, I don't know how much of this has to do with the layoff, but they were undisciplined. The Florida Panthers were, and it cost them. This is a Vegas team that really 5-on-5 is elite, and it feels like they have more of an offensive push to their game than what Carolina showed against Florida in the last round. So I don't think we're going to see any four overtime games in this series. I don't think we're going to see 2-1, 1-0 scores. I think that Florida's going to have to open things up a bit. I think they're also going to have to tighten up defensively. And that's a really tough call. It is hard to open up your game offensively without allowing more chances at the other end. So it's Bobrovsky versus Hill because, of course, I wrote that on the board this morning. I knew Bobrovsky versus Hill, that had to be it unless somebody got hurt. Luostarinen was out. Dalpe was in. I like Zach Dalpe, but did Florida miss Luostarinen? I'll say, yeah, a little bit. Sure, absolutely. So Marchessault has a shot that's blocked. Good energy early in the game. Mahura had a net feed that's held. And there's some pushing. And there was a lot of that in this game. Both teams starting stuff and finishing stuff in this game. And just a lot of the pushing and shoving was... I was kind of surprised they didn't start throwing penalties out there early just to knock that stuff off. But they didn't. Carlson has a shot that's blocked as Vegas presses. Ekblad has a chance that's blocked. There's a near miss for Cousins. Tkachuk fires one wide. The shots on net are 2-0 Florida at 3.5 minutes. Florida came out and they were out shooting them 8-3 at one point in this period, too. So Howden has a turnover chance that's caught and held. There's a press by Vegas 4 minutes in. Eichel had a net drive that was defended. Ekblad has a 3-on-2 shot that saved. The teams exchange rushes. Howden and Montour unfriendly in this one. Montour, I think, kind of frustrated with parts of this game tonight. He's going to look for a stronger game in game two. Both teams were checking well early. Bennett has a deflected shot. That saved. We get some pushing and shoving. Hill was involved there. No penalty on Hill. I was kind of surprised that Hill didn't get a penalty coming out of that. In fact, Vegas comes out with the power play. Panthers clear early. Vegas sets up. They cycle. Barkov deflects a pass out of play. Barbashev's denied and close. The Panthers rush and they score. It is Eric Staal on a wraparound, short-handed. Lindell with the assist at 9 minutes and 40 seconds. And he just flat out fooled Hill, went around the net and put it in. And that's the 100th career playoff game for Eric Staal. So big night for him. Panthers then finish the kill. Vegas would press after that's done. Strong forechecking by Vegas's fourth line. Panthers go to the power play. Early clear by Vegas. Tkachuk ends up hitting the post. Reinhart couldn't bury a rebound at the net. Panthers cycle. Vegas clears. Forsling has a shot that's blocked. And it's killed off without a shot actually on the net. So no shot on the net. And there you go. Gudas exits after the exchange earlier with Hill, but he would return in the second period. Montour has a chance that's saved. Lomberg fires high. Carrier fires one wide. And I thought the fourth line was really good tonight for Vegas at setting the tone, getting that forecheck going, and doing their best to pin Florida down a little bit. 3:33 left. Vegas gets their second power play. Paul Maurice wasn't happy. Neither was the Florida bench. Things then get pushy on a hold by Bobrovsky, and then poor defensive coverage leads to a goal for Vegas. On the power play, it's Marchessault who was wide open. Stevenson and Theodore with the assists at 17-18. And it's because players sometimes get distracted with throwing the big hit in the corner, and if you're throwing a big hit behind the net, that means there's three defenders in front of the net, and that's where Florida kind of lost the coverage, and Marchessault gets the goal. The Panthers look to answer. Barbashev then had a wraparound chance that goes wide. There was a press by Vegas in the final minute, I should say, but the shot attempts through the first period were 22-22. So it's even on the scoreboard 1-1, and shot attempts are even as well. So if Florida was fighting any kind of rust tonight, it did not show in this game at that stage. Second period, Gudas returned to start the second period. Then Cousins can't bury one on an open net, and I couldn't believe Hill stopped it. I was like, I don't know how that stayed out. It's just with the heel of his stick, just barely saves it. But yeah, Hill, and they did mention too that it was reminiscent of the Holtby save that we couldn't believe back in 2018. Not exactly the same, but similar. So I understood the comparison there. So Eichel has a rush chance that's held. He's without a goal, and I think it's his last 8 games now. Stevenson has a shot that saved. The rebound's cleared. The Panthers had a 3-on-2. That was defended. There's a press by Vegas, but Panthers, they block. They clear. A lot of bumps and bruises on both these teams from shot blocking tonight. Carrier to Colasar near miss, but it leads to a third power play for Vegas. So good play there. Your fourth line draws a power play. There's an early clear by the Panthers. Marchessault has a shot that's held. Ekblad clears a dangerous rebound. They cycle late. Barbashev has a shot that's held. Power play's killed off. 3 shots on net for Vegas on that one. And then Stone is denied right after. Stone very prominent tonight. Stone goes beast mode. The fans wanted a call on that one as he gets knocked down, but the referee says no. Doesn't give him a call there. The hitting was ramping up. There's a near miss for Eichel on a net drive. Things get pushy on a hold by Hill. Barkov then has a rush chance. That's kicked aside. There's a press by Vegas. 8.5 minutes in. Panthers, though, they block. The shots are 8-6 for Vegas at the half. So they're doing a good job of generating chances. Cousins with a near miss. Bennett has a rebound chance. That's held. Theodore then has a shot that's held. And right after at 10:54, he scores. So his next opportunity he does not miss. And he's kind of allowed to walk in and just wire it. Bobrovsky was screened on the play, didn't see it. McNabb and Howden with the assist. So Shea Theodore, that's his first goal of the playoffs. You know, if you're going to save your best game of the playoffs, save it for the Stanley Cup final. That's what Shea Theodore did. Vegas then presses for another. They're in total control at this stage. Teams exchange rushes. Eichel steals one. Bobrovsky holds on. We get some pushing there. Montour has a rush chance. That's held. And then we get a power play for Florida. Early clear. And then there's another one by Vegas. And they don't let him set up. Lundell then has a shot that's held. And that was the only shot on net for Florida, as Vegas does kill that off. Theodore then has a screenshot that's held. Things get pushy on most whistles at this point in the game. It felt like Tkachuk was in the middle of a lot of them. So Barkov has a rush chance that hits the crossbar. Mahura had a blast that's held. Things get pushy again. So some near misses here for Florida. And again, if you're looking for a good sign here, if you're a Florida fan, through 40 minutes, this game was very even. Very, very evenly played. So it is just a matter of getting the full 60 minutes in Vegas in Game 2 to try to even up the series. So things get punchy with 1:02 left. Lomberg to Lundell. There's a near miss there. And then there's a post for Montour. So another face-off happens in the Vegas zone. Barkov wins it. Duclair then wires it at 19:49. With 11 seconds left in the second period, Florida has tied the game 2-2. Nice one-timer, and it goes in off White Cloud's leg. So no chance for Hill there. So we're going to the third period with the score tied. Verhaeghe has a net drive chance that saved. Mahura fires one wide on a rush. Bennett has a net feed that gets picked off. There's a near miss by Verhaeghe as the Panthers press. Colasar has a chance to deflect high. Vegas presses. Howden then loses the handle on one in close. Stone to Smith. There's a near miss there. Petrangelo's denied as Vegas presses, and you could just feel it was coming. Like the Panthers press at 6.5 minutes, but then they turn the puck over. There's a 2-on-1 rush. There's a nice save by Bobrovsky. And then during the brief press that follows, White Cloud scores. Barbashev and Eichel with the assists at 6:59. So that puts Vegas in the lead 3-2. And it already felt like we were in next goal wins. You got to get that next goal, must win territory. And yeah, I mean, I didn't put that on the board, but it kind of felt like that. And yet in the back of my mind, this is the interesting thing. Back of my mind, I keep thinking, but it's Adin Hill. At some point in time, does numbers come down a little bit? I maybe it's a blind spot for me because seriously, the numbers aren't coming down. Panthers then get a power play. Barkov fires one high. They cycle. It's cleared out. Verhaeghe then has a shot that goes high and goes out. Power play's killed off. 2 shots on net. So Florida had their chance on the power play. They could not tie it up. Vegas then they go to the power play shortly thereafter. And this is an absolute must kill for the Panthers. So they do that. It starts with a shorthanded rush by Reinhart. His chance is saved. Vegas cycles. The Panthers block. They kill it off without a shot on net. So again, if you're looking for momentum, this is that chance if you're Florida, right? Well, Stone had a shot afterwards. That's held. And then there's a near miss for Howden on a turnover. And then, Florida tries to clear it. Stone knocks it down with his stick. And I understood why they challenged it for a high stick. I wasn't sure. Now, the reality is that if you have it above your shoulder, but if you're leaning, so if you're down further than where you normally would have your shoulder, it still counts. So very quickly, they came back with a decision on this. Florida did challenge it. And so it's a goal. So that means a power play for Florida. So Stone, in that nice pickoff and then wiring it at 13:41, he makes it 4-2. And that's when you realize, yeah, this may not work out for Florida tonight. So then there's a near miss for Stevenson. It's cleared out. Marchessault has a net drive chance that's held. Pietrangelo had a chance that's held. And things get pushy and punchy. Haig is laughing again. So Nick Haig, who has been seen laughing before when he gets punched, he's fine with it. And you know what's interesting is that if a guy laughs when you punch him, you kind of want to punch him again. So, yeah, Tkachuk ends up being thrown out of the game. He gets 4, so a double minor for roughing and a 10-minute misconduct. So he's done for the night. So that makes it 5 seconds of a 5-on-3 and then a 4-minute, 3:55 power play to finish that. And we're down to not a lot of time left. So, yeah, it helps Vegas end this game on a power play. So Bobrovsky holds, and there was no pushing on the next hold by Bobrovsky because Tkachuk's out of the game. So that's the end of that. Then there was a shorthanded break for Reinhart. If there was any hope left for Florida, it was here. Hill saves there, though. Nice save by Hill. And again, it's one of those ones where like just barely, but it's a save. So it doesn't matter if it's just barely. Goalie pull happens because they got to make it 5-on-5. Like they can't just kill the penalty. They need a goal. So it's one of those rare power play empty net goals. It is Riley Smith with his first in, I think they said 7 games. Eichel with the assist at 18-15. And so Florida had a bit of a press after that, but pretty loud crowd to end this out. Vegas wins this one 5-2. They're up 1-0 in the Stanley Cup final. They're 3 games away from being Stanley Cup champions. For Florida, they do not have much time to figure this out. They're now 0-5 in Stanley Cup finals, and they have never won a game in Las Vegas. Now, it's a small sample size. They've had 4 games in Vegas. They've lost all 4. So it's a small sample size, but still, this is the 5th game in Vegas. Now they've lost all 5, and their 8-game road winning streak is snapped. So that mystique that was around Florida coming into this series, it gets dispelled in the first game. They need to get it back in game 2. So my 3 stars, because again, I don't wait for the app, because at this point, it can take a while. I'm giving Shea Theodore first star, because I thought he had the best game he's had all playoffs. Aiden Hill, excellent game. Some ridiculous saves that I don't know how he made them. And Stone. I thought that goal by Stone where he picks it off and makes it 4-2, that ended any hope for a comeback for the Florida Panthers. Shots on net, 9-7 Florida in the first. Like I said, they were ahead 8-3 at one point in that period. 14 shots each in the second period. Shots 13-10 Vegas in the third period. So the final shots in this game, 34-33 in favor of the Vegas Golden Knights. Power plays 0-3 for Florida, 1-7 for Vegas, but 2 of those are at the end, with Tkachuk getting the double minor. And just, yeah, there were at least 3 of those that were undisciplined penalties for Florida. You just can't do that. The hits, 34-29 in favor of the Florida Panthers. Bobrovsky, 29 saves on 33 shots for an .879 save percentage. That has to change. Bobrovsky has to get back into stealing games, and maybe this is the reverse of the 2018 final. 2018, of course, Vegas came in with a very similar reputation as Florida. Nobody expected them to be there. And in the final, I mean, Washington figured out how to beat Fleury and how to beat Vegas. And tonight it definitely looked like Vegas figured out how to beat Bobrovsky and the Florida Panthers. At the other end, Hill, another great game, 30 saves on 32 shots. Or I guess 31 saves on 33 shots. Sorry, the app sometimes has it a little bit off, and I may write that down as a little bit off. But those shots, 34-33 Vegas, show this game was close. The score ends up being 5-2, but it did feel like a 1-goal game through most of it. And Florida's going to have to figure out how to win the next one, or this Stanley Cup final might end up being on the shorter side. You can never tell. You can never tell going to a final whether it's going to go 4, 5, 6, or 7. We know it won't go 8 because that's not a thing. But hey, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.